Appreciate you. These red mic messages are leadership and life lessons I picked up from 25 years as a public servant, 16 years as a youth football coach and scouting volunteer, and 10 years as a mediocre athlete with far more heart than actual physical ability. Gonna sort of do a continuation of a theme. A few months back, I said that history is made by those who show up. I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Recent example, a couple of my former players are stepping up in the hometown. One is serving on a committee of sorts, affiliated with the local uh, city government and whatnot. The other one is stepping up in a big way by actually running for a seat on the city council. So, two young men who I think a lot of, Jason Stewart and candidate Austin Cobb, both great kids. Um, could not have been different as any more different as players, though. You know, at the time, Jason was really big and imposing, and Austin was not. He'd not yet grown into his current stature. He's a big person now. Uh, they did have one thing in common, though. They didn't take plays off. They showed up. You know, they worked their tails off all the time, and unfortunately, they both had the misfortune of being on a on a couple of really bad teams we had. um, in fact, one of those teams I think was the year that we only won one game. Um, but to their credit, neither one of them quit. They showed up. They worked hard, and they're continuing to work hard in their lives, their communities, and with their families and all of that. And that's what it's all about. It's the power of showing up, right? It's not flashy. There's no fanfare, but it's showing up day in, day out, doing what you're supposed to do. Um, and that's where the good stuff happens, right? You know, whether it's sports or work, or relationships, or in your community, it's about being present. You know, it's being there. It's you can't be successful if you're phoning it in, right? You know, on the football field, it's the kid who, they weren't the fastest or the strongest, but they never missed practice and they tried hard all the time. So, you could count on them to make the smart play, you know. Um, they're the quiet leaders, you know. If you see a lineman who's consistently picked as team captain, it's because they are, yeah, there's a good chance they might be, just physically imposing and better than anybody. But if you look at a team captain and you're like, okay, he's a lineman, he's not that big. What I'll tell you, it's because he's got leadership. He's consistently showing up for his team, for his fellow linemen. He's doing what he's got to do. He's being that strong utility player, right? He's giving it all. His consistency is what makes him a leader. And in his own way, he's inspiring. The same sort of principle can apply in the workplace. It can apply anywhere in your life, really. Showing up, it means being reliable. It's being the person that other people can count on. Put yourself out there. Put yourself in the arena. That old famous Teddy Roosevelt speech. Um, it, it's the one who ends up with the dirt and the dust and the mud and the blood on their face. If you've never read The Man in the Arena, look it up. Teddy Roosevelt, The Man in the Arena. It's facing those challenges head on and being present, even if you don't, even if you're faking it till you make it, right? So think about this. How often do you hold yourself back because you think you're not ready? Maybe you've got imposter syndrome. You're not good enough. You don't think you're prepared. But that's the that's the secret that so many people that are successes have. you're never going to feel completely ready. Not really. There's always going to be something that you think, okay, could I have done that better? Could I have done that differently? You know, when I coached every game, it didn't matter if we won or lost. Every game, I would just agonize over it a couple of days later. Okay, why did I do that? Why didn't I do this? Continually striving to make the decisions, do the actions to put your team in the best position to win. As you prepare this week to go out and visit with family and friends, I mean, it's Thanksgiving week after all. Don't just phone it in there either. Showing up isn't just, again, it's not just about being physically present. It's being mentally and emotionally engaged. Listen to what people say, in those conversations around the table or watching football or whatever it is. Give your attention to the task or the person who's sitting next to you. In life, in work, in sports, it's it's always about giving your best effort, even if it feels like nobody's watching, because here's the surprise. Chances are there's somebody watching all the time. May not be the same person all the time, but your actions are going to have ripple effects. Don't take a play off. That was the thing I hated about Deion Sanders as a player. I think the jury's still out on his abilities as a coach, even though I think if the Cowboys get to draft first, as much as I hate to say it, I see him drafting Shedeur Sanders and hiring Deion to be his coach. But, that's a story for another day. But the thing I didn't like about Deion as a player was the same thing I didn't like about Randy Moss as a player. They would take plays off, Put your best effort out there every time, because you never know when that off tackle run is going to end up being a reverse where they come your way, right? So that example might inspire somebody to have the nerve, the courage, the guts, whatever you want to call it, to start showing up in a more present and meaningful way. So my challenge for you today is, even though, it's a short week and there might be a temptation to just phone it in. Hey, I'm only here today. I'm only here today and tomorrow. I'm off Thursday and Friday. Woohoo, yay turkeys. I challenge you to think about where you can show up more fully in your life. Maybe it's taking time for your family. Maybe it's speaking up or stepping up at work, or like Austin and Jason, stepping up in your community, whether it's volunteering or throwing your hat in the ring to try to help lead your city or town, whatever it is. Maybe it's just showing up for yourself, taking some time to rest and recharge and throw yourself into a hobby or some other passion project that you've been kicking that can down the road. Greatness doesn't come from one big moment usually. It comes from those small, consistent, ongoing actions that lead to a full body of work. So that first step is always about showing up. So go out there. Show up today. Show up tomorrow. I think you will see that the greatness that you can achieve starts with that first step. So just show up. That's today's Red Mike message. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you've been back again tomorrow. Now, obviously, with it being a holiday week, you're going to ask, well, are you going to show up all week? You're darn tootin'. Thursday, I suspect I'll end up talking about what I'm thankful for, and I'll probably talk a little bit about President Lincoln. Not my favorite president, but again, this is not a political podcast, so I'm not going to go into that. Thursday will be all about being thankful. Today, again, it was about showing up. I hope you'll give me a like, a follow, and a share. I appreciate you. I'll see you again tomorrow. And don't forget, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon.